Okay, this is part two of chapter four. We left off where Nick and Gatsby are talking, and Gatsby tells Nick that he needs a favor, but it has to come through Jordan. He's not going to tell him what that favor is, but he should have lunch with Jordan, and she'll tell you exactly what I want you to do. So then Jordan tells Nick essentially the love story of Daisy and Gatsby. So she's telling him the story that takes place many years earlier. Daisy was a rich young girl. She had many boyfriends. And one day she saw Daisy in her car with a lieutenant. Jordan says that the two were smitten with each other. And she had no idea that at the time, that person sitting in the car with Daisy was Jay Gatsby. Even when she sees him years later at his own party, she doesn't recognize him as the same man that was sitting in the car with Daisy 4 years earlier. Um, so after she sees Daisy in the car with this young lieutenant, Jordan didn't see Daisy very much after that because she was kind of busy with her own social life. She was also a rich young heiress with many boyfriends, and she played golf. Plus, she said Daisy hung out with an older crowd. There were wild rumors about Daisy, though. There was a rumor that she packed her bag one night to go to New York to say goodbye to a soldier who was going overseas. Her family was very upset, and they prevented her from going, and she did not speak to her family for several weeks. Then became engaged to Tom Buchanan eventually. Their wedding was this huge affair with hundreds of people. They rented out the entire floor of a hotel, and he gave her a string of pearls worth $350,000. So you can imagine how much money those pearls will be worth today, probably well over $1 million. Jordan was a bridesmaid in the wedding, and she sees Daisy the night before her wedding, and she's drunk. Daisy had been drinking, and she says, give the pearls back to whoever they belong. Tell them Daisy changed her mind, and she's clinging to a letter as she's crying and very drunk on the night before her wedding. Jordan and her mother get Daisy into a cold bath. They straighten her out, and the next day she marries Tom. And then they go on a 3-month honeymoon because that's what rich people do. When they come back, Daisy appears to be crazy about Tom, and she follows him around like a puppy dog everywhere he goes. Not too long later, though, Tom gets into a car accident, and the woman who was with him in the car also made the papers, and that woman was a maid from the Santa Barbara Hotel. So it's clear from this that Tom had been cheating on Daisy, probably with somebody that he met at his own wedding. But that's just Tom's style. So Daisy has a baby the next year. They go to France for a while, and then they come back to Chicago to settle down. Daisy was very popular in Chicago, and they move with a fast crowd. They're basically young, rich, and kind of like in these upper echelons of society. They run in these social circles with other rich and kind of famous people. So fast forward, and the first time Daisy hears Gatsby's name again in years was at that awkward dinner party when Nick arrives, and Jordan asks Nick, "Oh, do you know Gatsby? You must live near him." And so Jordan hadn't made the connection until later, realizing that he was that lieutenant that was in the white car with Daisy. So when Jordan finishes this story, Nick chalks the whole thing up to a strange coincidence, the fact that they live so near each other. And Jordan says that that's no coincidence, that Gatsby purposely bought a house so that he would be just across the bay from Daisy. Basically, throughout the last 5 years or so, Gatsby has been doing some light stalking of Daisy. While living in New York, he got the Chicago newspaper to try to keep track of her, to try to catch a glimpse of her name in the paper. And if you think back to chapter 1, when we first see him, when Nick first lays eyes on him, and he's standing outside on his dock, looking across the bay at this green light. Well, that green light is at the end of Daisy's dock. So when he's outstretching his arms and looking and yearning, it's really him yearning for Daisy, and by extension, the American dream, because that is what Daisy represents. Jordan now, she lays out the favor. She says, Gatsby wants to know if you'll invite Daisy to your house for tea, and also him, but don't tell Daisy that he's coming. So he's just supposed to ask Daisy to come over for tea, and then Gatsby's going to kind of casually come over, drop by. He was kind of surprised that this modest request, he thought it was going to be a much bigger favor. Um, but he waited so long to ask, and he thought that Nick might be offended by him asking. He asks why he didn't ask Jordan to arrange the meeting. So, in other words, Gatsby knows Jordan, and he could have kind of set up the meeting through her. But it's really because he said he wants Daisy to see his house. He wants to tempt her with all of his money. So, he wants her close to him, right next door at Nick's house. Gatsby told Jordan that he has always kind of expected her to wander into one of his parties one night because people from all over Long Island go to Gatsby's house, but she never did. So he started kind of casually asking people if they knew her, and that's how he finally found Jordan, and everything was kind of all put together. So again, the favor is he wants Nick to invite his cousin Daisy to his house for tea, and then Gatsby is going to just drop by. And the really important thing is that he tells Daisy nothing about it. She's not supposed to know that Gatsby is coming. So he kind of wants to catch her a little bit unaware. Okay, thanks for watching part 2.